Welcome everyone to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into a sweeping, highly complex framework that alternative researchers have been piecing together over the last decade. It's a theory known as the God Frequency Chronicles, and it attempts to connect three massive concepts: the macro level of our cosmos, the suppressed history of advanced physics, and the micro level of our very own cellular biology, all into one unified system. It's wild, it's fascinating, and we're going to break it all down.
Okay, let's dive into this. The central, driving question behind this entire body of research is this: what if the heavens above us, the history we've been taught, and the very water inside our human biology are all operating on a single, interconnected frequency? And more importantly, what if that frequency is currently being hacked? It's a pretty bold worldview, right? So today we're going to look impartially at exactly how researchers map this all out.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, the crystalline canopy theory. Then, the 80-year Tesla cycle. Third, the siege of the Great Deep. And finally, the prophetic 2027 gateway.
Part 1. The crystalline canopy theory and redefining the firmament.
To really understand this framework, you have to look at the sky with a completely different lens. For centuries, the mainstream narrative has relied on Newtonian gravity, telling us the Earth is an oblate spheroid, spinning helplessly through a boundless vacuum. But the researchers behind enclosed system cosmology reject that mathematical construct entirely. Instead, they propose a remarkably different blueprint: that the Earth is actually a fixed, stationary plane. In this view, we're not held down by a gravitational pull. Rather, the system is governed by density and buoyancy, all sheltered safely beneath a majestic, solid crystalline dome.
So you might be wondering, if gravity isn't holding us down, what keeps this whole system in perfect equilibrium? Well, prepare yourself for this, because the theory points to something called the nested torus field. Instead of isolated objects floating in dead space, reality is described as a breathtaking fractal energy model. Think of it like this: just as your human heart generates an electromagnetic field, the Earth generates a massive planetary torus. You and I are basically biological antennas, constantly resonating and exchanging information within this perfectly geometric, dynamic web of frequency.
The researchers summarize it perfectly right here. True cosmology reveals a different blueprint: a fixed, stationary foundation sheltered beneath a majestic, vaulted crystalline dome. Now, what's really fascinating about this claim is the historical context tied to it. The theory suggests that the famous 17th century Salem Watchers, those watchmen of the old world who are usually just remembered as victims of superstition, were actually targeted and silenced. Why? Because according to this research, they understood this exact celestial architecture and the true medicinal frequencies of the land.
Section 2. The 80-year Tesla cycle and the seizure of physics.
Moving from the architecture of the cosmos down into human history, the theory maps out a precise timeline regarding the suppression of advanced physics. It starts with Nikola Tesla's death in 1943, when his quote-unquote forbidden discoveries about radiant energy, wireless power, and telluric currents were audited and locked away from public view. This brings us to 1947, the dawn of the modern intelligence apparatus, which researchers claim kicked off an 80-year prophetic countdown. Right now, we're passing through the 2024 window, accelerating rapidly toward the expiration date of this entire cycle in 2027.
The math they use here is incredibly specific. 1947 plus 80 equals 2027. The theory posits that the rulers of this world have spent exactly 8 decades reverse engineering Tesla's suppressed technology. And the ultimate goal? To create a massive synthetic frequency grid.
Structurally, these milestones map out a very clear progression. In 1947, the so-called wrong technology is locked in the vault. Fast forward to 2024, which represents a stress test where physical boundaries begin to fail. And finally, 2027 marks the fulfillment of the cycle. According to the research, 2027 is the hard deadline for full operational capacity of a synthetic canopy, essentially treating the Earth plane as a giant programmable circuit board linked directly into a modern smart city grid.
Section 3. Siege of the Great Deep and the Microbiology Battleground.
Let's move to the microscopic level and see how this builds, because the battleground isn't merely in the skies, it is inside your cells. How does this global infrastructure connect to your physical body? It all comes down to H3O2, or structured water. Science has found that the water inside our cells isn't just regular liquid, it's a shimmering, hexagonal, liquid crystal state, acting like a biological battery and an intelligent memory bank. The research connects this directly to ancient texts, suggesting that our internal cellular water is the literal great deep or the abyss. It's a natural template absolutely essential to our biological resonance.
But according to the theory, this natural template is under attack through a coordinated molecular siege. The process supposedly begins with persistent atmospheric aerosol spraying, which introduces metallic nanoparticles, specifically graphene oxide, into our environment. And here's where it gets incredibly interesting and kind of scary, honestly. Because graphene shares the exact same six-sided hexagonal geometry as our cellular water, it acts as an artificial carbon scaffolding. It physically binds to our natural H3O2. The claim is that this effectively turns human biology into a conductive antenna, ripe for integration into the incoming 6G digital grid.
The sheer gravity of this claim is captured perfectly in this quote. This synthetic material binds to your cellular water, attempting to overwrite your natural temple and transform human biology into a hackable, programmable node. Researchers view this as nothing less than a global frequency hijack. It's pushing humanity into an internet of bodies where our very cells are tuned to a synthetic machine frequency.
So the researchers highlight a stark contrast to show what's at stake. On one side, you have the natural temple, your carbon-12 biological foundation powered by pure H3O2 liquid crystal, naturally resonating with divine frequency. Opposed to that is the synthetic node. This is where graphene oxide integration forms an artificial six-sided matrix that tunes the human body directly into a 6G hive mind network. It is literally the ultimate battle of macro technology overriding microbiology.
Section 4. The Prophetic 2027 Gateway and the Convergence of Iron and Clay.
This brings us to the final act of the theory, where the cosmology, the suppressed physics, and the cellular biology all crash together. The research anchors this modern technological shift deeply into ancient scripture, specifically the book of Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. It reads, "And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another." These researchers are reinterpreting this ancient text as a stark, modern molecular prophecy.
So the crucial point is how this ancient metaphor maps flawlessly onto the biology we were just talking about. Step 1, the clay. That represents our natural, fragile, carbon-based human biology. Step 2, the iron. That's the graphene oxide, the nanotechnology, and the synthetic 6G frequencies. And step 3 is the unstable merge. The prophecy explicitly states they shall not cleave, meaning this aggressive attempt to merge machine frequency with human biology is inherently unstable and ultimately destined to shatter.
And all of these cycles, the 80-year timeline of suppressed physics, the synthetic alteration of the Earth's frequency, the artificial scaffolding of our cells, they all point to one pivotal year, 2027. Researchers claim this year marks the final installation of the synthetic canopy, culminating in what they warn is a massive, world-altering polar plasma changeover, an event that will permanently alter the physical and spiritual environment of our world as we know it.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative final thought. As the 2027 timeline converges right upon us, are we simply adapting to a convenient digital age, or are we witnessing the deliberate unsealing of an entirely new synthetic reality? Regardless of where you personally stand on the firmament or these frequencies, this framework absolutely demands that we look closer at the intersection of our technology, our environment, and our own biology. Keep questioning everything, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.